all. This is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from Drbeen.com. Welcome to one more show. So the discussion today is very, very interesting. It is about the microparticles, microplastics and nanoplastics, or called MNPs, micro nanoplastics. These plastics have been around for a long time. We have billions of tons of plastic on this earth. We make millions of tons of new plastic every year. And the plastic, the smaller particles, microplastics, which are lesser than 5 millimeter, and the nanoparticles, plastics, which are lesser than 1 micrometer or lesser, they're present everywhere. And they are also present in the air, in our food, in our water, in our skincare products, in our healthcare products, and we consume them all the time. So what I wanted to share today is a few topics. Number one, there is a recent study that showed the presence of microplastics in all the human testicles or testes that they sampled and they analyzed. There was also a study from China where they saw that the microplastics were present in the semen samples as well. So, of course, the curiosity is, how did the plastics actually cross the barrier, testicular barrier, blood testicular barrier, and end up in that tissue? And then I would also present to you that there is a study from China that shows how these microplastics, in some cases, can be removed. So that is the discussion. Now, before that discussion, I want to show you this as well. So this is the book by Dr. Jason Fung. This is the complete guide to fasting. I believe that fasting and intermittent fasting is an important thing to kind of heal our body, especially from inflammatory states. And so this will be yours if you have subscribed today, tomorrow, day after, and Monday. So I would look at the YouTube. YouTube has a list of subscribers, and then I would send it to one of you. There is no cost for this. You don't have to buy anything for this. This is a free contest. Anybody can participate. The only condition is that I can only send it where my state, California, my country, US, and our international law allows us. And similarly, your state and your country allows it to be received. But anyways, that is a giveaway, and whoever subscribes is going to get it. Now, one of them, not everyone, we will just take all of those folks who subscribe, and then one of them will get this book. Okay, so with this, let's start with our references first. So this is Drbeen.com. This is the Drbeen.com at a very inexpensive price. And look, my work here is, it takes a lot of time to work and present these things, and it takes resources. So I need to pay my bills as well. So if you can either buy Drbeen.com's, this link is present in the description of this video, or you can be a member of Patreon or Substack. That will be awesome. With this, continuing, this is one of the studies. Microplastics are everywhere. We need to understand how they affect human health. Then this is a boiling can remove microplastics in some cases. Then this is the drinking boiled tap water reduces human intake of nanoplastics. This is the study, microplastics in testicles may play a role in male infertility. Study suggests, this is that study, microplastic presence in dog and human testes and its potential association with sperm count and weights of testis and epididymis. Then there are some more backing up references as well. So with this, I'm going to go to my quick drawings. So this is the microplastics in the testicles of dogs and men. I have no disclosures. This is the objective today. We're going to talk about microplastics and these couple of studies that I mentioned. Microplastics are plastic particles smaller than 5 millimeter in size. They can be in the form of microbeads. Microbeads are nowadays present in many, many products. You are brushing your teeth and you might actually have microbeads there. The plastic products, the bottles, many things have microbeads. The skincare products have microbeads. So here I have 1 centimeter, And you can actually pick up your ruler near you and take a look at 1 centimeter. And we are talking about 5 millimeters. So 1 centimeter is about 10 millimeter, about, no, for sure. So this is 5 millimeter. 5 millimeter can actually be visualized on your fingertip. So that is the plastic size we're talking about, and smaller. So now what happens is, this is the one of the Australian government sites. Microbeads are small, solid, manufactured plastic particles that are less than 5 millimeter in diameter and do not degrade or dissolve in water. So here is a little microplastic, and it is swimming happily in the water. It does not dissolve or degrade in water. They may be added to a range of products, including rinse of cosmetics, personal care, and cleaning products. Microbeads are a relatively cheap ingredient and are used in these products for a variety of purposes. This includes as an abrasive or exfoliant or bulking agent to prolong shelf life, or for the controlled release of active ingredients. I'm going to remind you that these microplastics have been found not only in the testicles. I think that is a study which is kind of a head turner to say, hey, look what we have here. These have been found in the breast tissue, in the blood circulation of the humans, and in other tissues as well, even in the GIT tissues, where the people with the GIT issues have a higher association with the higher amount of microplastics in their body. Microbeads are not captured by most wastewater treatment systems. If washed down the drain after use, they can end up in our rivers, lakes, and oceans. These tiny particles persist in the environment and have a damaging effect. So they can enter our body through air. Our airways allow particles smaller than 5 millimeter to easily pass through the deeper, smaller pathways. Then the food can contain microplastics, water can contain microplastic, and then many skincare products can contain microplastics. So here is the study, microplastic presence. So what they did was, this study, the researchers, they took 47 testicle or testis samples for dogs, and these were for those dogs that were being neutered. They obtained their testicles, and because of that, they were able to do sperm counts in them as well. They also obtained 23 samples of testicles, human men testicles, from Mexico. So in Mexico, there is a law that they keep whoever dies, and if they do an autopsy, they keep the testicles for 7 years. So this was people ranging from 16 years to 88 years, and they had the tissue samples there. They obtained those tissue samples, which are usually discarded after 7 years. So now they obtained them and they ran tests on them. So of course, in the humans case, because these were obtained from the samples that were preserved and kept for a long time, they did not have the sperm count, or the sperm count was not possible. So what they did was, they tested these testicles. What they did was they dissolved the tissue, and they had them tested, the remnants, for 12 various kind of microplastics. And they found that the polyethylene, PE, and the PVC were the most abundant plastics found. And human testicles had 3 times more plastics compared to dogs. So 303 microgram per gram tissue of the testicle contained or was the microplastics, compared to per gram of dog testicles, there were 123 microgram of these plastics. PE or polyethylene is commonly used in packaging, water supply systems, and agricultural films. PVC is also very common, used in construction, medical equipment, packaging, and insulation for electronics. This is also present in the water bottles too. So what was the effect on infertility or fertility? They were able to look at the sperm counts for, or measure the sperm counts for the dog testicles, and they found that those samples that had more PVC in them, these had lesser sperm count, and that data was statistically significant. However, they could not do this for humans because of the issue I mentioned before. The authors did have a conjecture, and they said if it is possible with the dog testicles, it is possible that human testicles would also have lesser sperm count. Now, I will remind you that there is a study from China for 6 testicles, which also showed reduced sperm count in testicle of 6 individuals, small study, and they had 23 semen samples, and they showed microplastics to be present in the semen samples. So here is the part of the abstract from the study. So they say, our study revealed the presence of microplastics in all canine and human testes with significant inter-individual variability. Mean total microplastic levels were 122.63 microgram per gram in dogs and 328.44 microgram per gram in humans. Both human and canine exhibit relatively similar proportions of the major polymer type, with PE being dominant. Furthermore, a negative correlation between specific polymers such as PVC and PET and the normalized weight of the testis was observed. These findings highlight the pervasive presence of microplastics in the male reproductive system in both canine and human testes, with potential consequences on male fertility. So they're saying potential consequences because they could not measure the sperm counts. And the researchers said that they were not expecting microplastics to be present in the testicles because there is a blood testicle boundary, and it is difficult for things to end up in the testicles. So they were not expecting it, but they wanted to understand what is the effect of microplastics on human reproductive system. So first they ran it on the dog samples, and they were able to see that the microplastics were present and the sperm counts were lower. Then they received the data for humans as well, and they found that all human samples from 16 years old to 88 years old, all of them had microplastic in their testes. So of course, the author said that younger generation and their testes having microplastics is a bigger concern, which makes sense. So now the question is there a solution? So of course the solutions are to reduce the plastics and all that, and I don't think that we can just wish it away. So there is another study here. Drinking boiled tap water reduces human intake of nanoplastics and microplastics. So what they did was, and this study had better results with hard water. So in case of hard water, remember when you boil the hard water, those calcium deposits on the surface of the pot, those calcium carbonate deposits, when you boiled the water, they would entrap and they would deposit around the microplastics, growing their size. And then if you pass those through simple coffee filters, then about 80% of these microplastics, which were ensnared in calcium carbonate, they got stuck in the filter and they got filtered out, and the water was with this lesser number of particles. However, with the soft water, this was not the case. It only was that I think about 26% of the particles were trapped. So soft water was not great in removing the microplastics by boiling, because there were less calcium carbonate content to ensnare the microplastics. But still, boiling the water can really help to reduce the microplastics present in our drinking water. So here is the abstract for this study. Tap water, nano and microplastics, which are called NMPs, escaping from centralized water treatment systems are of increasing global concern because they pose potential health risks to human via water consumption. Drinking boiled water, an ancient tradition in some Asian countries, is supposedly beneficial for human health. As boiling can remove some chemicals and most biological substances. However, it remains unclear whether boiling is effective in removing NMPs in tap water. Herein, we present evidence that polyester, polyethylene, and polypropylene NMPs can co-precipitate with calcium carbonate incrustant in tap water upon boiling. Boiling hard water can remove at least 80% of polystyrene, polyethylene, and polypropylene NMPs size between zero point 0.1 and 150 micrometer. Elevated temperatures promote calcium carbonate nucleation on NMPs and snaring and aggregation with them, resulting in encapsulation and aggregation of NMPs within calcium carbonate incrustants. This simple boiling water strategy can decontaminate NMPs from household tap water and has a potential for harmlessly alleviating human intake of NMPs through water consumption. So this is very important. And then finally, one more paragraph, and then I want to show you one more study, and then we stop. This approach is more effective in hard water than soft. The study published in the Environmental Science and Technology Letters found that boiling soft water removed only about 25%, while the hard water about 90%. So these are the references here. These are present in the description of this video as well. Now I'm going to go back here to just read a couple of more paragraphs from this one. And while I read this, once again, quick reminder. I'm so excited about this. So this is Dr. Jason Fung's book about intermittent fasting. Dr. Paul Merrick really loves it. So if you are going to subscribe today, tomorrow, and day after, one of you, I will announce the giveaway next week, and I'll tell an email where you can send your address, and then one of you will receive this book. There is no payment for this. You don't have to buy anything to get this. Many people would do this and one of them would receive it. I have to make sure that I can only send it where I can legally, and through the international laws I can send, and you can receive. Your state, my state, your country, my country, and international laws. So with this, subscribe today, tomorrow, day after. And let's go back here with one more, just last part. So this is published in April 2024 in Nature. Microplastics are everywhere. We need to understand how they affect human health. So more than 10,000 chemicals are present in plastics, including carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. Then microplastics are lesser than 5 millimeter. We talked about it. Here, this is what is interesting. In samples of atherosclerotic plaques, so what they did was, there is a study in which they had taken the atherosclerotic plaque from the coronary blood vessels of some individuals that had been surgically excised, maybe because of the cardiac issues. From the carotid arteries of 304 people, plastic was detected in plaques from approximately half of this. So 304 people, and they had their atherosclerotic plaques from their carotid artery. Half of them had plastics in their plaque. Now they started observing these 304 people, and check this out. So first, using electron microscopy, the researchers found jagged edged particles identified as MNPs, micro nanoparticles, in these plaques. Deposition of plastic in the plaques was strongly associated with the development of subsequent cardiovascular disease. Check this out. Over the course of 34 months, people with evidence of MNPs in their plaque had a 4.5-fold higher risk of composite endpoint of non-fatal myocardial infarction, non-fatal stroke, or death from any cause relative to the risk for those without such evidence. 4.5 times higher. risk. Then here, in another study focusing on a potential link between microplastic and inflammatory bowel disease, 15 types of microplastics were detected in human feces. The concentration of fecal microplastics was higher in people with inflammatory bowel disease than in healthy people, and the level of fecal microplastic correlated with the severity of the disease. And so finally, I have to say this, that none of these studies actually showed the mechanism for how the microplastic caused the tissue damage or reduce the sperm count or cause the problems with the GIT. These are associative, these are correlated data points, which tells us that number one, we should be careful. Number two, we should do more studies. So I will continue to bring you more data on this front as well. So with this, thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you would like to support this work, then there is Patreon link, Substack link. You can become YouTube member. You can become Drbeen member. If you become Drbeen member with $4.99, then YouTube or Substack or Patreon would not take 30% from me. Substack takes 10%, others take 30%. So if you directly become member of Drbeen, one, you get another 600-700 videos, and number two, I get a bigger chunk. With this, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, and I would see you next week. If you subscribe, one of you is going to get the book. Bye for now.